everybody knows, like, Chinese students here live in their own bubbles. You know, you can see Chinese kids hanging out with Chinese kids all the time. You know, what I've experienced about it is because there is too much of the culture difference. You know, like I said, we don't have all those cultural background about music, about movie, about sports. We don't watch football game, we don't watch baseball game. Like, sports isn't that kind of a big thing. It's a big thing, but it only for certain people. But here it's more like, oh, we all go to the football games. It's like what everybody does. It's not a place for the pure happiness, you know. It's not the ideal society that you're gonna experience all the cultures. It's just gonna come to you. It's not like that. You have to be uncomfortable first.
So I have an emotional support animal. She's a cat. Her name's Austin, and she goes outside on a harness and leash. She's leash trained because she is a registered emotional support animal. And so I brought her outside, and one day I had someone come up to me, and they were like, "Oh my God, you have a cat? Like, how do you have a cat?" Because I live in a dorm. And I was basically like, yeah, she's an emotional support animal. She's allowed to be here. And they go, "Oh, what a cool way to get your pet on campus. I want to do that." And it kind of, hearing language like that really disregards all of the importance of having my emotional support animal. You know, she goes beyond a pet.
Not that I don't get offended, but I just don't, like, get upset easily because, like, stuff that gets said or whatever, I just am kind of like, yeah, this is just what I've been dealing with forever. So it's not like, it's nothing new to me. And sometimes, like, people say things that it doesn't even register as being, like, problematic because it's just the stuff that I've been hearing my entire life. It's just small stuff, like people saying the N-word during songs and stuff. She would, like, a song was on at our formal and she literally, like, said the N-word to my face.
This was freshman year, like, rush season. And I've been friends with this girl, like, this was Haven Gang, we were all friends, but me and her were the only ones that, like, were rushing, and she's from the South. We're hanging out in the Haven Lounge, we're talking about, like, what house we like, whatever, and she's, like, she gets to talking about, like, the dues in the South, and she's like, oh, it's, like, thousands of dollars, and I'm just like, oh, wow, I don't know, just, like, humor her, like, I don't care about the dude, whatever, and she was like, yeah, but, like, don't worry, you can get, like, there's, like, scholarships and stuff, like, directly to me, and, like, I don't know, I just find it interesting because, like, we've never talked about financials. The first thing that did come to mind was that I don't look white.
So I have a very stereotypical name as a Latino. It's Juan. So when I usually introduce myself to a new person, sometimes they see the color of my skin more than hear my actual name. So say I see them another time on campus, they usually say something like, "Oh, hey, Jose."
When I had to meet with him at the end of the semester to talk about my spring classes for my freshman year, it was my first time actually ever, meeting him and introducing myself to him. And I go and I meet him and everything was fine, except for when I walked in the room, he goes, "Oh, Rowan, I thought you would be a man." Which, as a gender non-conforming person who changed my name to be more androgynous, that really hurt me. And I know he didn't necessarily mean it or know, but it's something that obviously has stuck with me for almost a year now.
But I was in my friend's room, and he had his friends to come over, and so I think I said something and I was about to leave, and then the dude was like, "Oh, like Mexicans or whatever," and I'm just like, I'm not even fucking Mexican, like, what? And then he was like, same thing. I think he was like, "Just so you know, like, he's not racist or whatever," and I was like, but he said a racist thing, but yeah. I don't know, it wasn't like they were like, they were defending him, but it wasn't like it was minimizing like my experience. They were just like, we don't want you to think he's like a piece of shit. But I was like, yeah, maybe he is.
I've been at a party one time where my friend was called a spick, and I did not know what that meant at the time, but there was an argument, and I asked him what a spick was. And a spick is a derogatory term for Latinos. And I hearing that happen, it made me really, really upset that someone has the confidence to say that to a person of color, to say that in front of everyone. You know, it just shows how much white privilege another person has and how much confidence being white gives another person.
I didn't feel comfortable on campus because I am half Asian, and it was right when 3 incidents specifically targeted towards Asians were released to all of us through emails. And I believe this was like a Friday night, and I was at Bird till 1 a.m. So I didn't feel comfortable walking home, not only because the campus felt very unsafe for me at the time, but also because I'm a woman walking home. I called the DPS escort line, and they just went through like where I live, whatever. And I said, yeah, I would like a ride home to my house because it's 1 a.m. at Bird. The DPS officer I could tell he was like, had hesitation in his voice and like, was not like, yeah, we'll get someone there right away. He said, I hope you do know that the DPS escort shuttles are for students' safety and not just for students' convenience. But the fact that he said you do understand it's not for students' convenience, in light of the 3 Asian incidents that got released that day, and he took down my information before. My last name is Asian. You could tell it's Asian. So for you to even say or think that is for my own convenience is extremely disrespectful.
Just because you don't mean it in an offensive way doesn't mean that it's not offensive. And I think that's where the disconnect is.